Welcome to the ninth episode of Mindshift. You want to watch my video series Mindshift? If you're interested in getting deeper perspectives in different skills and areas in life from the people who have their superpowers in these areas. I'm your host Dimitri Wakov, and I'm here with my guest today. Actually, I'm a guest to him today. I'm in his house, and we are with gloves because we want to respect the coronavirus. So Magnus Alber is my guest today. He is musician, he is digital nomad, and he's also entrepreneur. But the most important about him is that he has a very, very sharp mindset, and that's what attracted me to him. And that's why I want to talk about with him. But first, welcome, Magnus.
Thanks, Demi.
Is there something
You could come.
else you do, which I didn't mention?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay.
Let's not scatter it.
Cool, man. So, as I mentioned to people, you really have a really interesting and sharp mindset. And the topic we're going to talk about today is focus.
Correct.
Because you really have a sharp focus and you're doing all these things together. So it means that you know what you're doing, man. But first of all, I would like to ask you, because you said that initially you were only musician, but when you decided to transition to digital nomad, and just in a nutshell, what happened there? Why you decided to do that?
It was a situation where, as a musician, it was quite hard to really sustain myself. Because music production is a hard, tough business. And able to really do well in it, you need to be a top performer. And that's why a lot of people struggle financially doing that sort of stuff. And that's where I came into looking into the investment side of things.
Okay.
And since then, I've been looking more into investments and the business sides of living and less into music production. So it's been more of a transition.
Wow.
And still having the habit of producing once in a while.
I'm sure about that.
And yeah.
So what about, tell me a little bit why you chose investment and why you decided to become a digital nomad? Because these are two, you can have investment, but you also have thoughts. I want to invest, but I also want to go around the world.
I think it started when the cold winter of Denmark started coming along.
Okay.
And I needed to find a safer away from the bad weather. And also to broaden my horizon and seeing the world we sometimes take for granted living inside our cozy homes. And I also have adventure at heart and I want to experience the world. So it came quite natural to me that I'm able to do so.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many countries have you been through so far?
I haven't kept count.
Okay.
I should quantify that. But around 10 countries or so.
Whoa. And you're 23, right?
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
That's a very good number, man. But have you been living there? You just you want 1 month there, then 1 month in the other country. Was that the way you're doing it?
That's been the way, correct.
Okay.
I've been spending around 1 month at each place. So I was like able to get a taste of what it really contained in that sphere. And it's also nice, you don't have to change all the time because else it's quite hard to get into a routine, really.
Okay.
I would say from hindsight and realizing like going traveling, you should have the intention of either experiencing the culture and stay there for less of a while and like getting the experience out of it, or you should settle with a longer time frame. I'd say finding something around like 3 months if you're able to buy visas. But yeah, it's really nice going out traveling and meeting like-minded people who have an entrepreneurial spirit and having the combination of like work as well as adventure. And it's also cheap living, can be quite cheap actually,
Okay.
to
Wow.
live outside. Say relative to Denmark,
Yeah,
because Denmark is quite high in its expenses.
definitely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, but I didn't know that it's cheaper to go around the world, which is a big dream of many people. But maybe they're afraid of that. They're afraid that it's going to be very expensive if you go there.
Yeah, of course. They also need to figure out how they can make money online, of course, at the same time. Because if they're just there spending dimes, it's not going to get you far in that sense.
Lovely, man. It sounds like you had a great adventure and going to so many countries. Tell me, if there is one thing, I'm sure there are a lot, but there is the most important things you got from all of this experience. Was it some beliefs, or was it some special person you met? What was the most important thing you got from all this for you?
I think the most important thing I got was definitely the network of friends I gathered, and like just being in a community of like-minded people who have a lot of ambition and have a lot of energy to execute, and like being able to share your values and what you've learned along the way with them really helps you shape your mind towards the same kind of values. So I see it as like you're part of a certain community of people that you see every day. Of course, it's an exception so far with COVID-19, but usually you have a community of people that you tend to work around, like your institution and where you at, and that's where you get to like emulate the people you're part of, and you're like a little strain of that community, like little culture.
Yeah, you search for your place, and you're right in the companies you have it for you, but you need to find it if you're an entrepreneur, because you don't have it settled somewhere. You just have to find it yourself, and it sounds your world is your community right now.
Exactly, and the community is where you give in, you share your values, and you get the same thing back towards yourself. So if you have any like questions or something that concerns you, then you're able to ask them, and they're able to help you as well.
That's a great nugget you got from there, man.
Exactly.
Just everyone who wants to do that, it's not so expensive, and also you're gonna find the great people there.
Just don't do it during this time of COVID-19.
Not now. Just wait a little bit. You can't actually with because of all the restrictions, but definitely, if after that you want to do it, you see the point of person who has been doing that for a while. So let's focus on the topic for today. We have the topic of focus.
Right.
So the first thing I want to hear from you, because there are many people who talk about this topic, can you describe the focus in several sentences? What do you mean by focus?
Focus it starts in your head. It's a mental thing. Like all us creatures are mental in essence. And from being a mental creature, we have the what you call like a zooming glass, magnifying glass. That's the word I'm looking for. And like you are as a mental creature is able to take a magnifying glass and put it toward a certain thought. And what focus really contains is you're the one in charge of that magnifying glass of what you should put your attention toward. And that's what allows you to see the world in a certain perspective.
Wow.
So the magnifying glass is a certain perspective. And eventually, if you're able to control that magnifying glass and keep it steady on one thing, it's what happens if you put the magnifying glass in the grass.
Wow.
For a long while, eventually all the sun energy going through it, like the light, it suddenly bursts into fire from having focus. So that's how I like to see it. And in order to be able to control your magnifying glass, you need to start becoming aware of it. Instead of just spectating along the day and like not realizing your subconscious is like pulling you through all different kinds of actions toward the day. You're not even realizing you're a spectator. But at the minute you start like becoming more aware of what your mind is doing at that moment, and you start to like micromanage, then you're able to hold that magnifying glass more and more and be in control of it and where it's going. One crucial part of this, like enable to be to know where to like pull this magnifying glass towards. You need to be able to figure out where that is, and that's where the vision comes in.
Wow.
If you don't know what the vision is, how are you ever going to pull the magnifying glass towards that? Also, like, let's put another analogy, it works here, and consider where you're going as a railway. You want your railway to go to a certain destination. It could be in any profession where you want to go, but you need to figure out how you need to align these rails in order to construct this railway. And this is one rail at a time. And it's important to figure what rail you should be focusing towards in order to build this rail one at a time.
Yep.
And as a friend of mine kept telling me at one point, was that I put the cart in front of the horse, which means that you are one step ahead, but you shouldn't be there at that moment. You should be focusing on the rail that's important at that very moment, because else you're gonna scatter around, not being part of the true execution where you should be.
So actually, just to summarize, it's an amazing perspective, man. Thank you for sharing it, because I haven't heard something like this, exactly folks explained like this, but what you're saying is it starts in the mind, and it's this magnifying glass we need to know how to control, and it helps us when we have vision, because when you have know where you go, we know where to put the magnifying glass and build on. So how can you use in this hard moment right now, with this COVID-19 and lockdown, this magnifying glass? Is there something different we need to do because of the situation, or you just have to keep going the same way? What is your opinion on that?
I mean, it depends on what you're doing, but if it's relatable to, like, if you're doing something that's digital, like where you just need a laptop in order to do what you're doing, you're not really affected. But if you're usually at work, at an institution or whatever, like, you're affected, of course, because suddenly you're in your home doing what you're supposed to usually do at work. And of course, that changes the community you're part of suddenly, because your physical community is suddenly only the house that you're within, and which you're constrained to. But then again, there's also a digital community where you were able to still like show value with each other, and this is able to put you towards your goal. But I'd say it's a hard time with COVID, because this is a time of more loneliness, I'd say. Like, if you're living by yourself, which 1/3 of all Danish people does.
Wow.
They're in an issue where they're not able to interact with other people except digitally. And that's not the same as like being physically present in the same environment. Yeah. So
That's crazy.
if you could summarize what your question really was regarding COVID-19.
So actually, the thing here is you exactly went where we wanted to go. Just where is your focus on that? Because right now people are, the situation is extraordinary. It's this pandemic situation when people are really don't know, should I focus on my business now? Should I focus on my work? Should I focus on my family? Should I focus on my health? Where should I focus? Because as you said, it's magnifying glass. If you put it in different directions, you do nothing, right?
You're not going to burst the fire in any place.
So is there something in your case? Where do you put your attention right now? Where do you think is the most productive to have it? That's my question, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, it's my own work, but it's putting towards what makes sense to you and what you want to achieve, like what your vision is. For me, it's business related.
Okay. So you put your attention on something which is your vision about. So my vision is I want to create, this business, and I want right now to put my attention on that in this time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And of course, you need to let me put this railway analogy back and say you have one railway, which is your career, and what your vision is to where you want to go with that career train. But you also have other destinations that you want to reach, which is part of everyday life, like all practicalities of today, say food. If you make your own food, you need to make sure that the food train is coming along every day. And that might spend you 1 hour of your day. And then you also have the sleep train, which we all know, and it's quite easy because we already made the railway it's become natural, it's subconscious that we just go to bed, we know the routines we build there. But you need to figure out these different trains that you need to make along the day, and there's all kinds of different values that you can add to your life. Like career is just one part of it, and of course something that's very, very close to everyone is naturally having a train that helps you with your social life and your health life as well. But if you should take the social life, that might be to go for a walk with loved ones and friends, and that also something you need to put toward the magnifying glass. Of course, not everything all at once.
No, you just want to have the priorities, right?
Exactly.
So in a way, your magnifying glass, you can use it, of course, towards something, but you can have different things you're using it for. You can use it now for this interview, but then you're going to do it for your business.
Exactly.
But then you're going to do it for your social relationship or your girlfriend's relationship or whatever. So is it what you're saying that it's very important to focus on one thing at a time? Because a lot of people talk also about multitasking. What do you think about that?
Multitasking is really dangerous. And everything that actually makes you distracted.
Okay.
We actually have this thing that in order to build a railway, you need to not have a scattered brain. You need to keep it very simple, really. And everything that puts you off traction towards building this railway, one rail at a time, is to be able to not be pulled out off this flow of mental focus, off this magnifying glass. Every time you get a notification on the smartphone, for example, which you should turn off if you want to have this distraction mindset, is that whenever this notification comes on, it distracts you and pulls you away from the traction you have building this rail one at a time. And that's really important that you architect your day toward what you want to achieve. So when you're building a certain railway, which could say be the social railway, the one of being together with loved ones, then you need to put everything else away so you can be fully aware and attentive in that moment on building this rail one at a time.
That's a great perspective, man.
Yeah.
So tell me, do you have one practice you use in order to keep yourself not distracted? Is there something, one, which you use every time when you feel that you got distracted? Is there something you do?
There's one thing to do.
Yeah.
And that is,
if
you put up your phone, you're in the couch, the first thing that needs to pop up is you need to become aware that you're doing that. You need to start becoming aware and not just letting your subconscious mind doing that. When you become aware, you can suddenly micromanage yourself at that instant moment and see yourself, oh wait, I'm on the couch, I pull up my phone, I search this in Google, suddenly a news article pops up, it triggers dopamine release, you want to tap it. And when you realize you've done an action like that and you tapped it, you just need to do one marginal adjustment and cut it off. And from you cutting it off at that very moment, you did a marginal adjustment, but that suddenly helped you getting away from from doing more and more and more. And like it's like you can have a positive momentum, right? Where you suddenly start a positive task, which could be work related. You start to do a small little task. It might cost you 5 to 10 minutes spending time on that task. And from doing that task, suddenly you have a momentum. You did that, now you can go on to the next thing. And that breeds momentum. And the thing is, momentum always has a beginning. It's like a primordial thing.
Yeah.
And the same goes for bad momentum. It starts on the couch, taking up your phone, seeing that notification. So essentially there's an ignition point of bad momentum. And the sooner you start becoming aware and starting to like micromanage this small seconds really.
So the awareness is important here.
It's really important.
So what you're saying is whenever this happens, you need to learn how to be aware of it in this moment, so then you can take constructive action out of it, not going with it, but to know how to stop whatever you need to stop and continue focusing on what you do. Is there something you do, some practice you do in order to give you this awareness? Because this is a muscle, right? Awareness is a muscle which you want to develop. Is there something specific you do, or is just keeping aware in the moment?
It's a certain way to start using the mind. Like we're all using our minds in certain ways. We all have a certain filter going through our heads at this very point in time. I have my own personal filter of how I'm interpreting what I'm taking in, visually speaking, like the visual sense and the audio visual sense. Okay. And having that filter is you have the ability to mold that toward what's in your head, how you're going to process it. And it's something that takes time to learn to start becoming more aware. Like you might not be aware of your breath right now, only when I start telling you, okay, you should focus on your heart beating and focus on your breath. Suddenly your mind perspective changes and you start putting more attention towards that very information coming through you.
It's lovely. It's lovely information you're giving to us here, and thank you for that. So I have 2 more questions before we finish. The first question is, many people, you're 23 right now, many people in their 20s are super confused. They don't know where to focus their attention. Should I get a job? Should I find a girlfriend, wife? Should I have children? Should I become an entrepreneur? Should I? So do you have your opinion on what do you think a person in their 20s should focus on right now?
I shouldn't be the one telling what another individual should focus on when it comes to, because it's a personal matter in the sense that you should live your own life on your own terms and not let anyone else tell you how you should live your life. But of course there are things of consensus among people that are considered to be destructive towards a nice, comfortable living and something that creates pain instead of love. And of course, naturally, we want to do certain action that gets us closer to having a life of more love than a life of more pain. And naturally, things that are putting you in destructive scenarios due to certain actions, they need to be dissolved and of course need to change. So, but then you need to figure out what type of action leads to this. And it's all about like starting to observe what might lead to this. So it's all about like pattern recognition, really. Like what leads to a bad scenario for my future self, and what leads to a good scenario for my future self.
So it's again knowing yourself better, finding out by recognizing who you are and what your aspirations. Don't think about what people want for you, but what you want from yourself, and focus on that.
Exactly, your own vision.
So that is perfect for everyone who is in their 20s. Think about these things. Think about how can you go deeper in them, because I totally agree with you. Magnus, that this is super important. There is no one person like the other. Everyone have different thing. So just before we go, I want you to tell me three essential things people can start doing today so that they can focus more can create more focus in their life.
Okay. Three things today. I'd say awareness is key. Starting to be aware of what you're doing, like starting to become an observer instead of just letting your subconscious mind do everything for you. So yeah, starting to become aware. So awareness is one thing, and I'd say marginal adjustments. So marginal adjustments just simply means that you do a small adjustment each step at a time.
Yeah.
So when you say in that couch, you're aware, so you put that awareness to work, and then you do a marginal adjustment, which means you turn off the phone. And from that, suddenly you cannot spend 20 minutes of your attention on that news article. So that's the second one, marginal adjustments. And thirdly, so we have awareness, marginal adjustments, and then execution as well, like to execute on it. There's one thing to be aware of something, there's one thing to do marginal adjustments, but execution is a really important part of it as well.
Thank you, Magnus. Thank you for all of these golden nuggets you gave us today. Just before we finish the interview, tell me where people can find you, and what is your focus right now?
Okay. Well, you can find me on, say, Instagram. Funny enough, I don't use that. This is funny enough about focus. However, I'm on Instagram. My ID is Magnus Alber. And that's basically it. Yeah, I don't want to share too much more.
Okay.
And what was your other question?
What is your focus right now?
Yeah, my focus right now is setting up business in Denmark.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Lovely. So if you want to hear and know what Marcus is doing more, just find him in Instagram. You're going to have a link towards that below the interview. Thank you, Magnus, again for your participation today, and talk to you soon.